Since their creation, video games have captured the hearts and minds of those who play them. But for some, that initial spark of joy evolves into a burning passion to craft them. Today, we're learning about the intricacies of community management and communication. This is How to Get a Job in the Game Industry, presented by Windows 11. Brings you closer to what you love.
Hey, what's up? I'm Andy Bravo Dudynsky. I'm an esports commentator, and before that, I was community manager for the Halo franchise at 343 Industries during Halo 5.
I'm Victoria Tran. I'm the community director at Innersloth, and we make the game Among Us. Basically, my job is to handle a lot of the marketing, the community work, the social media, the influencer stuff, just a lot of outward-facing communications.
A community manager is really the eyes and ears of a game studio into their community and how they're feeling, what they're thinking, what's working really well in the game and the franchise and the community, and the things that aren't working so well and that really need attention.
Very specifically in community, I handle a lot of the sentiment, so how players are feeling about certain features, if they have problems with it, if they would like to see something else, and also communicating that with the development team and making sure that everyone is aligned with what everyone wants and how things are working, and making sure that the community and our players understand what's to come and what to expect.
There's a lot that goes into bringing the right information into a game studio and into your team. The first thing is really understanding all of the different nuances of your community subsets. What is important to certain community subsets, and how does that impact other subsets of the community? If you go changing certain things about ranked play or social play, how does that impact other audiences and things like that? So it really requires a community manager and their team to have a really good, broad understanding of the community, of the things that are important to them, the history of the game and the franchise as well. How were things before? How are they now? How is that different?
So in terms of knowing what is the thing that we need to tackle as a dev team, it's kind of up to me making sure that we have a proper read on things. So some people could be really loud about, something, but maybe it's just a cosmetic issue versus a lot of people experiencing a bug that crashes the game, and that's much more important. So it's kind of understanding what is loud, but ultimately not super urgent to take care of, and then also knowing what maybe isn't as loud that people are talking about, but is actually a really important thing that the community would benefit from, and so that other people can play.
Perhaps even harder than internalizing all of the feedback is determining how you communicate back to the community, which is so important and will be your main, of course, touch point with the community as a community manager. And I think it really starts with a great partnership with your designers and your development team, and working alongside them to help the community and the game become stronger and better over time, and looking as a long-term partnership.
Honestly, I play the game myself just to see kind of how the community is interacting, and seeing kind of where the friction areas are when it comes to how our players play together, and if they're getting along, if they're not getting along, and seeing areas of improvement and bringing that to the development team.
My start in the games industry comes from a long history of competing in Halo, eventually coaching professional teams, and then creating some content around YouTube and everything, really in the pre-Twitch days. During that time, I got offered a job to work on the Halo franchise, which of course was a dream come true, but at the time, something I wasn't even thinking that was a possibility, or something that I was even thinking about doing. But I was asked to, after creating essentially my entire career around competing in Halo, analyzing Halo gameplay, and also then creating content around Halo, I was lucky to be asked to work on the franchise, and pack my things and move to Seattle.
I originally never thought that I would get into the games industry. I didn't think that was a viable career path because it was never told to me as a kid that I could do something in it. So I originally graduated with a degree in sociology with a double minor in communications and the social studies of medicine. So I was going to go into healthcare. And when I graduated, I was like, no, actually, I hate this and I don't want to do this. And I kind of just ended up really thinking and reflecting about what things I enjoyed, and I realized, games is something that would be super fun to be in, and something that I'm actually very passionate about, and I'm part of the community there. So when it came to it, I just started applying for so many game jobs, and in the end, a games outsourcing company kind of hired me on as a community manager, and that's kind of where I started picking up more and more skills.
I'd say for people looking to get onto a community team or into a community management type role, take a look at your favorite games, and even other games that you just maybe know peripherally, and take a look at how their community managers and community team have handled not just past, say, game launches and patches, but also how have they handled the difficult times. And take a look at their forum posts, their tweets, their posts on Reddit, and take a look at which things were effective, which missed the mark, and how would you maybe do things differently?
So the great thing about community management, community directing, all that kind of stuff is that it's actually quite easy to get like experience doing it. Like whether you're a Twitch streamer, whether you run your own blog, whether you have some sort of following somewhere, or anything like that. That's kind of like when you're building your own kind of personal community, that can be a huge like experience buff. You do have to like kind of start thinking about it too, and like not just like, oh, how do I build this community, but like how do I pay attention to them, how do I kind of know what they're asking for, how do I moderate it. All that kind of stuff is really important when it comes to community management.
Even if you're not in a community management role, I think there's a lot you can look at across the games industry to get an idea of how you want to bring some of that into your own position on a community team.
So there are a ton of tools out there, and a lot of them are free, and I would really recommend kind of getting used to them. Having some basic knowledge of Excel or spreadsheets of some sort will be really useful. I think a lot of game development and community management is done in spreadsheets, which is not a thing a lot of people think about, but it is very important to us, especially if you're analyzing a lot of like data from social media platforms. That being said, also just knowing the social media platforms, like knowing, like going in there natively and trying to post your own content, knowing how the editing works there, knowing how to create content on there, super important.
I'd have to say one of the best things about being a community manager and working with a community team is just the ability to amplify amazing creators within your community, especially ones that are maybe a little bit more under the radar or underserved compared to, say, your Twitch streamers and your YouTube creators. Just for an example, if someone's creating amazing fan art, that's these amazing characters and art that's a bit under the radar, they have a small Twitter profile, a small Instagram, and they're not getting too much attention, the ability to take this person's work, for me on Halo, maybe it was an incredible Chief sketch, maybe it was a Cortana, kind of a version of Cortana that was super unique, and to bring those to the main social channels on Halo, and all of a sudden it's blowing up, they're getting so much attention and that like they've never gotten before. So fan art, a new montage, a crazy clip that's on Reddit, things like that. The ability to celebrate those day in, day out is probably the most exciting and the most rewarding part of being a community manager.
So there's no way to make this not sound super cheesy, but I really genuinely love interacting with the community and our players and literally everyone. And I mean, I would hope if you want to become a community manager, you also enjoy this, because it is just based on interactions with the community. But seeing all of the things that they get up to, the jokes they make, the cool things they do with each other, the fan art, all of it makes it super worth it.
Huge shout out to Victoria Tran and Andy Dudynsky for taking the time to drop advice and tell their story. And a big thank you to Windows 11 for giving us the opportunity to interview our guests today. For more on all things gaming, stay tuned to IGN.